Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's video, it's transfer deadline for 6 Premier League clubs on the 30th of June. Wolves have their VAR check complete. Aston Villa want more on PSR. And Man City sue the Premier League. All this and plenty more coming up on your Forest news today. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest news. As always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and make sure you go get those LED signed framed Forest shirts from Football Prizes. Either scan the QR code that's on the screen or check it out in the pinned comments down below. Okay, we got a lot of football-y things to talk about today, and they all interlink and they all impact probably everyone's club, and obviously in our case, Forest. And let's talk about specifically the breaking news about the 6 teams that are facing the Axe transfer deadline day, if you like, come the 30th of June. Call this, I don't know, it could be like a Black Friday style sale that's about to happen in football. 6 clubs: Newcastle, Villa, Chelsea, Leicester, Everton, and Nottingham Forest. That makes up a good chunk of the Premier League, 6 out of 20 clubs who will have to sell before the 30th of June. Now, all of them have got different reasons as to why they need to sell. You've got Leicester because of what they did a couple of years ago in the Premier League. You got Villa because now they're finding themselves in European football in the Champions League and have to comply by UEFA's policies as well as the Premier League PSR policies. Chelsea, probably because they've run out of hotels. And Newcastle, richest club in the world. How ironic they find themselves in this as well. And of course, Nottingham Forest, who are very, very tight on PSR, as we've been discussing quite regularly. And this for me is a complete and utter embarrassment for the Premier League. To have 6 clubs in the biggest league in the world, in the most competitive league in the world, in the richest league in the world, having to cut players out for quick money because of these stupid deadlines is frankly pathetic. And how does that help anyone in terms of footballing, apart from the big 6, who will get cut price players, who will then be able to pick and choose what they want post July the 1st, and then of course they carry on getting richer. And you know, the quicker the new rules come into play, the better. I don't think it's going to change much. I can't see it changing much, and I can see a repeating pattern still happening on PSR. But what's interesting about this story is that Aston Villa have tabled a petition to the Premier League meeting, which happened, I think, today, where they're asking for the 105 to be upgraded to 135. Now, that, if I'm correct, and I may not be on this one, is backdated to the current financial year ending 30th of June. So if that were to happen, basically the case here is that 105 has been 105 since 2014 and has never taken into account things like inflation, things like the growing economy, the growing market in the Premier League. And what Villa are saying is that it should be 135 for the year just gone and this final year coming up before they change it into the new system. And I'm all for it, because that would give Forest an extra 30 million. Now, Forest wouldn't be at 135. They'd be at 83 plus the 30 that's being added on. But that would be enough to keep Forest clear of PSR and Forest safe from having to sell any players. So if this one goes through and is successful, Morgan Gibbs-White is staying, Murillo's staying, Callum Hudson-Odoi all staying. And that will be the same for the likes of Villa and probably Newcastle as well, because apparently Bruno Guimaraes is about to have to go. The Newcastle one just boggles the mind. When you have a team that rich that can't spend money, it just tells you there's a broken system. Now I get it, you don't want Newcastle to buy everyone and anything that's going on, but still there's got to be a happy medium. So, a lot going on today. This is, of course, off the back of the Premier League's annual meeting. Remember, they self-govern themselves. 14 need to vote things through, and then it can kind of go through as law just because it's such a closed circuit, closed club, whatever the phrase is. And another vote went through today, and that was the vote that was tabled by Wolves on VAR and the scrapping of VAR. And Wolves were the only team to vote for scrapping VAR. Forest didn't vote for it. None of the other 18 teams there voted for it as well. Wolves just stood up and looked around and saw only one hand up, which is surprising in itself. It's almost like everyone got to the edge of the cliff and, it's a case of, shall we all jump? Shall we all jump? And everyone was like, go on, Wolves. Go on. Pat them on the back. You jump first. You jump first, and we'll be right behind you. Wolves jumps. Everyone looks around. You go get some food. They don't look like they landed very well. Let's leave them to it. But I don't know. For me, I wanted VAR to stay. I want the officiating to go. I want all those refs, all those corruption decisions that we've seen throughout the season are not VAR's fault. They're the idiots behind the screens, the monitors, and the whistles. So that's what needs to change first before people start blaming the technology. Yes, the technology is not faultless, but the damn officials are completely at fault for a lot of what we see in VAR. So that one's done, and that means VAR will definitely be in action come the Premier League at the start of this season in August. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so let's carry on and talk about the freaks that are Man City. And Man City are suing the Premier League. Why? Because they're saying it's unfair that the Premier League can't be unfair. What do I mean by that? Basically, Man City is saying that they can't keep up with the revenue turnover from the likes of, let's say, Man United. And they need to do that by overinflating sponsorship deals. Just very quickly, any sponsorship deals you get counts as revenue towards your club. Therefore, the more deals you get and the more they're worth, the more money you can then spend on buying players. They are also saying it's unfair that 14 teams have to vote to pass, should we call it legislation through? And they want it down to 11 because they say that would be just over 50%. And this is just a complete and utter mess. This is Man City wanting to be even more dominant than they currently are by being able to spend the wealth of the oil nations onto players, onto dodgy deals, and they want those dodgy deals to be legalized. And more importantly, what this screams to me of is that they are scared of the 115. Why? Because we have a date for it. November coming up. And what Man City, for me personally, this is my take on it, are trying to do is they're trying to legalize the corruption charges that they have for them in the 115. So a lot of those corruption charges are about, or the 115 charges, let's not alleged corruption, is about them cooking the books by overinflating the sponsorship deals. So if they can turn around and win this case, and by the way, they were able to get a date for this one really quick, happening on Monday. If they can get it turned over, then when it comes to their hearing in November, they're going to say, well, it's legal. We had a case on it. It's fine. What are you guys holding 115 against us for when it is now in law that it's fine to do? So it is really important that they lose this, because if they don't, they will probably get away with the 115. And there's so many other implications this could have. If they were to win the voting system, to bring it down to, say, 11, so it's just over a 50% majority, then we're probably going to see things like all the American owners banding together. There's loads of them in the Premier League right now. And they're probably going to want to play some of the Premier League matches in the States. And if they vote for it and 11 of them pass it, then your game next week could end up in New Orleans or in Philadelphia or wherever. because the Americans always, and you know, there's no secret about it. You've heard the likes of Todd Bowley talking about it, the Glazers and all that. If they could franchise it out into America, get more eyes on the Premier League, they see it as a revenue earner. And for me, this is a no-no, man. Fine, do friendlies abroad. Fine, do pre-season abroad. But the Premier League needs to be played at your home stadium and at your away stadium in England. So there's a lot riding on this one. Now, will Man City win this one? Well, technically, this isn't going to court. This is going to an arbitration panel. And their decision is binding. But it can then go to court. So this won't be the end of it. I believe it's a 2-week hearing. They're going to sit down. There will be a judgment on it, which is final. But if either party is not happy with the judgment, they can then push this on to a court. And we end up again away from football. And come what may, with all this crap going on, I just miss being able to focus on who played well, celebrating a win, you know, crying over a defeat and what have you. All that feels second fiddle to all this crap going on right now in football. And quite frankly, it's a goddamn joke. What do you think about Man City? They're 115. And the fact that they have the audacity try and sue to make the unfair rules more unfair. Get your thoughts in the comments down below. That brings you up to date on all your news. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And scan this QR code or go check out football prizes. We'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.